So you're considering stepping into the world of vinyl, but you're a bit confused with all the jargon and overwhelmed with the choice maybe. Let's make things nice and simple for you. Now, as a company and channel that are clearly passionate about wireless speakers and the evolution of streaming, you might be wondering why we're covering turntables. Well, we're simply passionate about great entertainment in whatever format that might be. And lots of us in the team have a real passion for vinyl, and it seems we aren't the only ones. You might have seen articles on the vinyl revival, resurgence, we might even call it a revolution. And it's clear that there is a renewed interest in vinyl with increased record sales year on year and more people looking to either get back into vinyl or purchase their first turntable. So this video is for you guys to break down the jargon and get you started. It's also the first in a new series all about turntables and vinyl, so subscribe to catch me in the next videos. Now, there are three main pros to buying your first turntable setup. The first is choice, because there's just so much choice out there and you can find something for nearly every budget. Now, there are some people out there who suggest you need to be starting at the £400 turntable mark or it's pointless, but that is simply not possible for some people's budgets. And there are more affordable kind of starter options out there, such as the AT-LP60, which I actually have here. And this offers great value for money and you can still get that authentic vinyl experience. The second benefit is that vinyl is a much more personal listening experience. It gives you more purposefulness in how you listen and you're more involved in the experience to really enjoy your favorite albums and tracks. Plus, you can personalize how your setup looks to choose an aesthetic and ensure it fits your home. And thirdly, a record re-emphasizes the album format. They're designed to be listened to track by track in the order that the artist intends for you to listen to it. So this offers more of a connection with both the artist and the record. And let's not forget, we're also helping to more closely support our artists by buying their music. On the flip side, there are three cons as well I think are important to highlight at the start. Now, talking from experience, it can turn into quite a fairly expensive rabbit hole. Now, there are a few different moving parts and you can upgrade almost all aspects from the turntable to the cartridge, the stylus, the preamp, the speakers, the list goes on. Plus, not forgetting that we actually need to buy the records as well. And that can vary as well so much in price depending on what you're into. So it will depend on how big of a collection you want as well. The next downside to vinyl is that record listening is more involved. You do need to get up, you need to choose your record, you need to place it on the turntable, get back up to turn it over. Yeah, I know, first world problems, eh? Now, if you're looking for the ultimate convenience, then it's possible that maybe turntables aren't for you. You also need to make sure you keep good care of your turntable and records to ensure longevity. There is definitely a certain delicacy required as well when you're using your turntable to make sure nothing gets damaged. And then you need the space to accommodate the setup as well. So you're going to need to make sure you've got room in your home for your turntable setup and somewhere to store your records as well. So you've decided a turntable setup might be right for you. What will you need to get listening then? Well, there are all-in-one options available which have built-in speakers, and they're pretty much plug and play. But I would tend to avoid these as some of them can be a little bit cheap and nasty. I would suggest separating the elements out a bit, so having a dedicated turntable and then separate speakers to get a much better and richer sound performance and make the most out of your vinyl records. This also comes with the added benefit of being able to upgrade the turntable or the speakers in the future. So you're going to need, at the very least, a turntable and speaker or speakers. On top of that, you might also need a preamp and amp, and don't worry, I will cover those terms later on in the video. And then within all of this, you also need to have a rough idea of your budget and the space you have available. First, we'll start with the turntables. So, as I mentioned, there are so many options out there from lots of different brands, including popular options such as Riga, Audio-Technica, Project, and Technics, and lots more. For me, looking beyond budget, there are a few questions to ask yourself, which will help you narrow down your options. Now, in terms of design, this is purely down to what you like the look of and what will go in your home. Now, you can get quite minimalistic style turntables like this Planner 2 that are more lifestyle, and then you can get ones that look a little bit more complex and a bit more things going on. On the whole, there are a few key features which you might want to look out for on any turntable. So if we take the Audio-Technica AT-LP120, as an example, we've got the dust cover up top which protects the turntable from dust and any records, and this usually comes as standard with any turntable. The plinth here is the foundation of the turntable which supports the rest of the components, and it tends to have quite a decent weight to it and can have a variety of different looks. You then have the platter on the top, which is the circular rotating platform on which your vinyl records sit. We've also got a slip mat, which sits between the platter and the record to provide traction for the record to stop it slipping during playback. And this little spindle in the middle centralizes your record on the platter for music playback. Some turntables also come with a singles adapter, which allows 7-inch records with larger center apertures to sit over the center spindle. And then over on the side, you have the tone arm. Now this is responsible for supporting the cartridge and stylus assembly, and also relays audio signals to audio connections at the back of the turntable itself, obviously a crucial part of the turntable. The tone arm lift lever does just as you would guess. It allows you to lift the tone arm up or down onto the record. And then the head shell on the end holds the stylus and cartridge in place. And these are often interchangeable to let you upgrade to a more premium option in the future if you need to. The cartridge is actually an electromechanical device which translates the information in the grooves in your record into an electrical signal, which can then be amplified to produce music. Again, these can be upgraded and interchanged as necessary. Of course, if anyone knows any cartridge models they'd recommend, then drop it in the comments. The stylus, also referred to as the needle, clips into the cartridge and it's responsible for making contact with the grooves of your record and extracting audio information. Again, this is often interchangeable and we recommend interchanging these after around 1,000 to 1,500 hours when you may notice a slight degradation in sound performance. On the back of the tone arm, we have the counterweight, which helps you balance the tone arm correctly to make sure you're not wearing down your stylus on your records. A lot of turntables also have something called an anti-skate control, which applies a gentle outward force to the tone arm to counteract its natural response to glide prematurely to the center of the record, again minimizing wear and tear and also ensuring accurate performance. Now, turntables also come with a speed selector, which we've got on the front here, and that lets you select between typical playback of 33 1/3 RPM or 45 RPM, which of course stands for revolutions per minute. All modern records are either designed to play at 33 1/3 RPM or 45 RPM, with 33 being the more common, and therefore all record players cater for both of these speeds, and you can select the speed that you need at any one time. Also, if you have any pre-1960 albums or EPs, then you'll want a 3-speed turntable loaded with a suitable cartridge and an option for 78 RPM, so keep an eye out for that. Okay, so there's just one more bit I want to talk about which isn't found on all turntables, and that's this strobe speed indicator, which indicates if the turntable is maintaining speed, and then depending on the speed selected, the dots will appear stationary as the platter spins, which is quite nice to have. So that really just about covers the main elements of a turntable that I think you need to be aware of. So as you can see, I've got 3 different turntables in front of me here: the Riga Planner 2, the Audio-Technica LP120, and the Audio-Technica LPW30TK. Now, as you can see, they all have very different aesthetics. Now, this Planner 2 keeps things quite simplistic. It's got a clean, minimalistic look, and of course, that famous glass platter. The LP120, on the other hand, has a lot more going on with pitch control. You've got a knob to change the turntable speed. And then the LPW30TK offers quite a different feel, again, with this wooden finish, which is very popular. Now, personally, I know that the Planner 2 would fit in better with my home and my style, but the LP120 is a hugely popular model, so it's just entirely personal preference here. And look, you need to be fussy about how the turntable looks, because at the end of the day, it's going to sit in your home for many years, so you really ought to like it. Okay, so now you've got a feel for the design you might like, you also now need to decide how involved you want to be in the experience with a manual, automatic or semi-automatic turntable. A bit like a car, I guess. Now, a fully automatic turntable such as this LP60 that we have here will lift the tone arm out of the resting position once you press start. It will then move it across to the start of the record and then gently lower it down at the right place. And then once the record finishes, it will then lift it back up and turn the turntable off. So the only thing you need to do is choose the record, put it on the platter, and then press play. Manual turntables, on the other hand, require you to manually lift and lower the tone arm onto the record to get it playing. And then once the record has finished, you then need to lift the tone arm back off and turn the table off. Semi-automatic turntables tend to be a bit more rare, but these are a hybrid between the two. So these often require you to manually place the stylus on the record but then it'll bring it back at the end and turn off the turntable. Now, choosing between manual and automatic is again dependent on what you're looking for. Manual turntables are often seen as a bit more work, and if you aren't careful, there is the potential to drop the cartridge and scratch the records, and so automatic turntables may be more tempting for those getting started to remove that worry. However, many people feel the action of getting a vinyl playing is the point of playing records after all, and so manual turntables arguably offer a more authentic turntable listening experience. Now, there are also less mechanisms to go wrong than the ones required for an automatic. Semi-automatics can therefore be seen as a happy medium. You're involved in the process of playing your records, but if you fall asleep, then you don't have to worry about your turntable being left on. Okay, so on to the final choice for your turntable, and that is belt-driven or direct-driven. Now, the drive system is how the turntable turns the platter during music, and belt drive and direct drive are the two most common types. Direct drive turntables such as this LP120 are where the platter is spun directly from the motor, so no drive belt is involved. Now, these models are often more popular with DJs and professional users as the motor's torque is sent straight to the platter, which means that you can spin the platter quicker from stationary. Belt drive, like this Riga Planner 2 on the other hand, is more popular as a quality domestic turntable. Here you'll see that there is a rubber belt which relays power from the motor assembly to the platter. Now, these turntables tend to deliver better sound quality because the rubber drive band absorbs vibrations from the motor instead of the platter on a direct drive turntable. They also give you less noise, and of course, noise is the worst enemy to turntables. Now, the majority of you watching, I would predict, are just going to be using the turntable for day-to-day music listening, in which case I'd opt for a belt-driven turntable. But if you really like the look of a turntable and it happens to be direct-driven, I wouldn't let that put you off at all. Okay, hopefully that's helped arm you with some more information to decide which turntables might be right for you. The arm thing, Sam, was that meant to be a pun? Like tone arm? Terrible. So if you want any more bespoke help choosing the actual turntable, guys, then drop a comment below or get in touch and we can help. Now, the next very important thing you need to ask yourself is, do I need an external preamp? So most turntables require connection to a turntable preamp, such as this Riga Phono Mini. Now, turntables on their own produce a very quiet signal, so it needs to be amplified to normal levels so that your stereo amplifier can process the audio correctly. So basically, without a preamp, the audio from your turntable will sound very quiet, it will lack bass and lack detail, and it's a critical part of your turntable setup. Now, some turntables such as the Planner 1 Plus have an integrated preamp. Some turntables, such as many turntables in the Audio-Technica range, come with a switchable preamp, so you can turn it on or off depending on the components you're using. But other turntables, such as the Planner 1, require a separate preamp to be connected up. Now, there are also powered speakers or amplifiers on the market with built-in phono preamps, and you can tell if it has one by checking if the product has a red and white port on the back that is labelled as phono. If it doesn't, then you can probably safely assume that it does not have a preamp. So make sure you've checked that either your turntable, amplifier or speakers have a built-in preamp. Otherwise, you'll need to grab something like this Phono Mini to get listening, or some manufacturers make their own separate preamps for their turntables. So now you've got a better idea on how to choose the right type of turntable, you know if you need a preamp. Now, what speakers to go with it? So I won't spend too long on this section because this bit really deserves a video on its own. However, probably the most critical decision to make is whether you'd like the turntable wired to your speakers with a cable or if you want a wireless Bluetooth connection. Now, there is advantages and disadvantages to both. So obviously with Bluetooth, the speakers and the turntable only have to be within Bluetooth range. So they don't necessarily need to be next to each other in the same room. If you wire them though, like you would do in the Audio Engine A1s, then your sound quality isn't limited by Bluetooth and it tends to be more reliable overall. So I would say Bluetooth for the ultimate convenience and wired for better sound. As a quick tip as well, if you're the sort of person who would like to digitize your vinyl and get the vinyl sound quality but on your wireless devices as well, look for a turntable or preamp with a USB output and then use software such as Audacity to record the audio as it's played. Just thinking, the Riga Phono Mini has a USB output as well, so that's a good option if you need that. The last thing I'll say is that it's now possible in today's world that you can have the turntable audio playing in every room of your home at the same time, thanks to multi-room audio. Now, a great example of this is Sonos, which is the 5 we have here, and we have got a dedicated video about that on our channel if you want to check that out. So if you're a bit lost, I will link our popular turntables and popular bundles to give you an idea of what we think works really well together. If you want us to cover different options for different budgets, then let me know as well. Hopefully that's given you a place to start and armed you, same pun again, with some important information for making choices on what will work best for you. Now remember, this video is the start of an ongoing series of vinyl and turntables, so subscribe for more to catch me on the next videos. Thanks for watching and see you next time.